He is well seasoned.
Overstate things, but I thought I sort of enjoyed it.
It's so awkward.
I am not the most polite person.
Good God, you're on a hell of a streak.
Welcome to RollQ, where a bunch of eggheads with crap accents tell a story about me. He's the GM Q, whatever GM means. There's a seat in the wagon, so grab your dice and let's roll. Let's roll. That ending is stupid. Hopefully Joe will be smarter with the 25-word recap.
Now that I've been intimidated into total silence by Van Richten. Here we go. Immaterial visitation. Magisterial abdication. Ethereal conversation. Library all frustration. Werewolves, hags, Stella marooned, full moon coming soon. Acolyte says, is Lathander better than Ezra?
Jeez.
And so poetic, such alliteration and excellence.
And damn, like
I'm just glad at least one person heard the better than Ezra part and got it, because I told my wife 2 days ago, like, I'm going to use way too many of these words to try to fit that in there.
it's amazing. That hits different.
Outstanding.
I'm never gonna do this.
So you stand outside the Vistani camp with Rudolph Van Richten kneeling down at the feet of a werewolf victim, and he's looking up at you, having just told you that he
Can brew a potion that will help on the full moon, but I need wolfsbane. There's only one place that grows. It grows at the sacred pool in Kresk.
Is it high priority?
Well, I don't know how I can decide what priority it is for you. He won't suffer, he should be fine, until he's not.
Is he conscious?
You look, and he doesn't seem to be conscious at the moment. He's sort of pale, the sweat's sort of coming down. He does have what is obviously a werewolf bite, far too large for a vampire bite. And it does look very angry and red.
It just seems to me that there's at least some chance that even a first transformation is something he could survive if there was an attempt to restrain him. No guarantees, I imagine, but whereas it sounds as though Stella has only this one full moon cycle, and then it's over.
I feel like
If we don't get him to... Go ahead.
I feel like women in this world, I know that this is something that I am constantly harping on, but I do feel like, we need to be there for her ahead of anyone else. She's also a child. Like, who knows what he did? Not to say that he, deserved it, but I do feel like, we should probably help the female child rather than...
We have time to help all.
So
we will deal with the night hag. We will retrieve the weeds. Then we will free Stella. There is time enough if we apply ourselves, but we must move now.
Let's go to Kresk.
Yeah.
Sorry, I got
3 miles
6.
there, 3 miles back. For sure. Okay. While we're stopped,
This is why I have gray hair. This is
Forgot what
where
day
it all
it is.
comes from.
Well, the longer we stand here and watch this poor man suffer, it's hard to turn away, so we'll deal with him first.
So you head out. The first really big thing you hit is the Luna River crossing. The river seems to have gone down somewhat. The boards that were in the water are now just above the water. Even when you walk on them in the middle, they sink to just barely touch the water, but not all the way in. So the water level has decreased. You sort of curve northwest through the forest. You see there's an offshoot of there's a road branching south. You are within sight of another river crossing when there is a hunting trail that leads northeast. This northeast hunting trail might loop around and go back to the Wizard Tower at Lake Baratok, because you remember there were sort of 2 branching roads at some point from there. And you are now about to cross the Raven River. And in the middle of the river, in the middle of the bridge, is a large armored knight standing at post.
Sam will approach.
As you approach, the knight will turn. He'll raise one hand.
Hail, be these servants of Strahd.
We are foes of the demon Strahd.
I am glad to hear it. Approach that we may get a more illuminating look at one another.
He'll put the sword, sheath it in the back.
Sam will take a few steps forward. I am Rev Samal, servant of the Morning Lord. You may call me Sam.
It is good to see you, Sam. I am a knight of the Order of the Silver Dragon, following an order to guard this bridge.
We have met one of your brethren.
Ah,
Are you frozen? Are there many rivers that people like you are guarding? Or bridges?
we tried to guard all the rivers. Which
Why?
bridge did you pass when you saw my brother?
Gummer? And there was giant waterfall that was really loud, too loud for people talking, for
It was very
anyone.
misty.
It is the Sayre Falls Bridge, which leads into Sayre Pool.
So is he undead? Is the guy that we're looking at?
Make a perception check.
Yeah, can I do that too?
Yep.
I was just making an assumption.
Oh man, today is not the day.
3.
I
Let's
rolled a
see how good my assumption was.
I rolled a 2. 9.
It's hard to tell. He wears his beaver down, as they say.
What does that mean?
It's from
It's
Hamlet.
the face of the faceplate of the helmet.
He'll stand and he'll say,
Well, the Sayre Falls Bridge is one of my brothers. I have, I believe, a sister. I cannot remember where she is, though. She also guards a bridge.
Are you likewise cursed with life beyond death?
I am.
How do you feel about that?
I do not have feelings anymore.
So do you know anything about hags or any in the vicinity?
I do not know of any hags within shouting distance of this bridge. I have heard of hags, however. They sound very formidable and also very unnatural.
Have you heard of one that goes around selling pastries? Maybe someone passing the bridge?
I have seen an old woman talking about pastries passing this bridge.
Morgantha?
I believe she said that was her name. When she was approaching me, she thought to offer me pastries. When she got close, she ceased to offer me pastries.
So she is not a good person, and we need to address her in some kind of way. Do you have any advice?
I believe hags are stronger when they are in their covens. If you can separate her from her coven, she might be manageable.
Did she mention where she might be going?
Oh, she was going, of course, to Kresk. It is the only place you could sell dream pastries. Is Kresk also your destination?
Right.
You may find it hard to enter Kresk. Several days ago, they have shut the gates of Kresk. I believe something bad happened in the town, and they have shut the gate to keep themselves safe. But I have had 2 travelers, traders both, who could normally depend on the custom of Kresk, and they were turned away. But the Kreshkovs are honorable, and the Baron Kreshkov is likely honorable as well. Perhaps, if you had a very good reason, you could persuade him.
Do you know if the Kreshkovs are supportive of the Count?
I have not heard that they are supportive of Strahd. They do exist, however. So, while not supportive, they must be in some ways compliant.
Somehow this feels like this is going to take longer than we want to.
We require Wolfsbane. There is an injured man.
There is no Wolfsbane on this bridge.
Yes, it reminds me. I was wondering, why bridges? Why is it you and your brethren are stationed on bridges?
We are to guard against undead or fiends that may seek to cross this bridge.
Your brother at the falls couldn't remember his name. Do you remember your name?
Oh, no. No, it is lost to time.
All right. Gummer starts writing a name tag for him. And he shall be named Hurley.
Yes.
What does the paper say? It is written in a hand I do not recognize.
It says Hurley. That'll be your name. If you don't remember it, if you don't like it, we can always change it, I'm sure.
Could be like Burley. Or no, we already have
The
Burley.
other one was Burley, so now we have Hurley Burley, and when we meet your sister, she'll be Shirley.
Hurley.
Giving us rhyming names does seem to make it easier to remember them. If it gives you comfort or joy or even mirth to call me Hurley, you may do so.
It gives me mirth.
I am pleased.
Is there anything else you think we should know in our quest to seek the Wolfsbane?
The wolf packs in this area have gotten much larger. They have expanded their territory and increased ferocity. I am surprised you made it this far without seeing them.
We have encountered wolves on one occasion.
But are you talking about wolves, or are you talking about werewolves?
These are wolves that walk on two legs. They must be werewolves, although they do have wolves with them.
It just occurred to me that I was wondering if... Well, I mean, you asked when Sam approached, and your fellow did as well, whether he or we served Strahd. Do you have any special ability to tell the truth of the answer to that question?
I do not. If an undead were to attempt to cross this bridge, I believe I would feel it. But as I said, they have not tried to cross this bridge.
I'm sure that's down to you.
All right, Sam, Karmog, Oksana, what are we doing?
We must retrieve the Wolfsbane from Kresk.
Sounds as though we can at least ask at the door. If we're refused, it's only a couple of hours.
As you pass the bridge, about a half a mile past, there's a fork in the road. You know from both maps and instructions that you head to the right. As you do, the road starts to climb, and you are on a mountain spur, and eventually you arrive at a town. It is built directly into the eastern mountain. There's a 20-foot wall, gates just as high surrounding this town. Go ahead and make insight checks, you guys.
20.
Just 12.
Still made of stone. 7.
Sam, you do not notice what Gummer and Cormac do notice, which is that these guards are on edge. They seem nervous enough to make a mistake.
Let us approach cautiously. They seem agitated.
When I tell them of our purpose, they will let us in. Sam approaches the nearest guard.
As you get within about 20 feet of the gate, the guards with spears will cross them over the gate like that. A signal that they are barring your entry, at least at this moment.
Hail, friends. I am Rev Samal, servant of the Morning Lord. We come seeking Wolfsbane. There is an injured man in need. Surely you will not bar the way of Lathander's work.
Hello, Rev Samal. Bless you under the morning, Lord. We have been given orders by our Baron, Dmitry Kreshkov, to not let anyone inside this gate. Those orders still stand.
Sorry, Gummer will come up behind him with his hands very clearly visible. We needn't go inside. It's supposed to be right near a pool. We would pay for it if that's necessary, but if you could bring it out to us, or if someone could bring it out to us.
We will buy it.
He'll look up. Go and tell the Baron. We will get him a message.
Very kind, thank you.
The wind sort of whips down. You realize these guards are very much dressed for this, and while you are in warm clothing, this would not be a place to camp. It is too cold for what you are currently wearing. You also think that wall must be practical in more than one way, as to stop that wind from cutting directly through the village. You see the man who got the message step back up. He's one of the archers above the bridge. And standing forward is a dark-skinned man, completely bald with a big gray beard. And he leans down and he says, I am Baron Dmitry Kreshkov. I am the burgomaster of Kresk. What can I afford you, lady and gentlemen?
We come seeking aid for a wounded man.
Yes, we are very
We require
great.
Wolfsbane for a potion.
Yes, Wolfsbane. It's very important that we have this. We have coin, and we are also entertainers too. We could.
Sam looks over at Oksana with a we are?
Just go with
Whomever
It-
would
it
like to... Go ahead.
It takes him like a full second before he realizes what she's doing. He's like, oh.
He's learning. Yes, we
I would say...
Can someone
Yeah, no.
else do
This
it?
is-
Because I am
This
terrible.
this is deception, but you may have advantage on it since you
I
have
don't
been
know, we're pretty damn entertaining.
assisted.
I was gonna say, like,
I'm so entertaining, in fact, that you should hit the like and subscribe button.
You should.
honestly,
And if you are not entertained, please comment and let us know how we could entertain you
commenting.
if you are not entertained.
Yeah, I should not be rolling today. 14.
Werewolves are very dangerous. We have seen more and more inside our walls. This is why our gates are shut. I would like to give you what you seek, and I will. However, to enter here, I would have you prove your merit. Would you be willing to undertake a task for which I will allow you to enter and take as much wolfsbane as you would like?
We did not bring.
We have limited time.
And we did not bring our instruments. Perhaps someone could sing. I do play the bones, but I only have one bone, one finger bone. Maybe I could get some somewhere.
What sort of task?
3 miles south of here is the ruins of a village called Berez. I would send you to Berez. I would have you entreat with the witch, Baba Lysaga, and convince her to scry on a certain person to discern their condition and, if possible, location. I would, of course, give you what you need to both provide what the witch needs for the spell and also something to pay her with.
Is Arena with us?
She is.
Oksana will look at her like, And just pass her a glance about the scrying thing and the bracelet.
She'll kind of look and smile. Doesn't say anything, though.
How far of a journey is it to this place?
It's about 8 miles. It is the same 3 hours.
Oh,
The
okay.
reason that you could only go 6 miles in this 8 hours is because of the steady climb. It slowed you down quite a bit. But this would also be a full 3 hours. And you are at about 3 p.m. right now.
Is there not some lesser service we could render just for delivery of a small amount of wolfsbane, rather than entry to the town?
I mean, perhaps.
Make persuasion check.
Can I help? Perhaps, maybe we could barter and give some money now and then help you later.
Advantage.
Okay, I was like, I gotta wait and find out if that counts. Persuasion 15.
15. If you will swear by the Morning Lord that should I give you this wolf's bane that you seek today, you will return and perform this task for me.
By Lathander's grace and in the Morning Lord's light, I swear.
He's serious.
Very well. Jeffer, go to the sacred pool. Gather as much wolf's bane as is harvestable. Do you think that... sorry. Do you think the abbot will be there? It does not matter whether or not the abbot is there. Just get what you need. Try not to speak to him. And bring it back. You can do this. As you look at Jeffrey, you realize he's about 14 years old. He's just a kid, but he's large enough and strong enough to hold a crossbow. And that puts you on the wall in Kresk. He'll sort of knuckle. Yes, my lord. He'll go down. So, we may as well get to know one another a bit. You seem different than most people we see here. Where are you from?
We're from a land far away called Faerun. An area called the Sword Coast.
It would
I
stand.
was trained by Sir Isteval.
These are not names that I know. It stands to reason that you have been brought here, probably against your will.
Our wills maybe don't matter as much as need.
That is a dutiful way to look at it. Well, since you are here, what goals do you have?
Well,
What is your purpose here?
can we go inside? It's cold, and I would love to continue talking to you. You are so enlightening.
This I cannot allow without the good faith of performance of the task. I will give you the wolfsbane. This is within our power to help a fellow Barovian. But these gates, regrettably, are shut. We do not have the luxury of deciding who we can and cannot trust.
Okay, so I have a question about the. Did he say witch or lady or?
Witch.
Yes.
Okay.
He called her a witch.
The witch.
Babalai Saga.
Yes. Name I do not know. Is she in a coven with a baker hag that likes to make pastries? Are they in the same group?
I have not heard of the pastry woman. We have not seen her in some months. I do not believe so.
Do you know if they
You say this pastry woman is a hag.
Yes, her name is Morgantha. Just now remember again. But we are, yeah. I just wanted to know.
This is very esoteric. Would we know if witches or hags are territorial?
Make an Arcana or Nature check, I think.
I mean, I am territorial, and I am neither. She stands closer to Cormac. I'm just
So
kidding.
it's just women then who are territorial.
15.
Bruh.
They are territorial should you approach what they have decided is their territory. They don't expand. They're not trying to get more.
Okay, let me rephrase then.
Mhm.
If we were to remove Morgantha, is it conceivable that Baba Lysaga would appreciate that?
With a 15, I would say you would lean towards Baba Lysaga. The territories are far enough apart. I think you would lean towards that it wouldn't particularly matter.
She'd be indifferent. Okay.
Mm-hmm. I would say.
If
Eventually-
we're
please.
sorry. If we're
No, go.
getting to know each other, and I think current events might be on the menu. What exactly has happened that keeps us from coming inside and warming our toes?
We have had an infiltration by someone we now know to be a werewolf. One of our own was kidnapped and taken. It is him that I would have you beseech Baba Lysaga to scry on, so that we may ascertain his condition, and again, if possible, his location. Because they were able to come in so easily, we have shut our gates to all, as we clearly are not able to tell who is and is not safe. The guard, Jeffer, will approach, and he's got a sort of what looks like just a knapsack kind of tied together. And say, I was able to get 8 of them, so I hope that will be enough. You have done your best. That is all we can ask. He'll hold it out to you and just look down as like, who's going to catch this?
Sam reaches out.
He'll drop
Gummer
it.
stands underneath his arm.
You do not have to make a dexterity check to catch a slow dropping, very light packet. And it hits you hand, Sam, and you sort of squeeze it, and it feels like there's flowers in there.
Thank you. We will repay your hospitality at our soonest availability.
I have no doubt you will. The Morning Lord will hold you to that word.
Let's get back.
Let's.
Where is back? Where came you from? Where is this afflicted boy or man?
The Vistani camp just south of, or just west of Vallaki,
Vallaki.
which has undergone a change in leadership. I'm not sure if you've heard.
I have not heard. Who is in charge now?
Lady Wachter.
We can only hope her heart is in the right place. She could hardly be worse than the very small man she is replacing. Well, I wish you good fortune. It is just a couple of hours until dark. If you are to return to Vallaki, you should go now. Your trip back to Vallaki is cold. But not memorable. You travel the way, you pass the night again on the bridge as he sort of puts his hand up in hailing you. You take the road back, and about 6 o'clock or 6:30 at night, the sun's been down a bit and it's spookier than normal, but you walked into the Vistani camp.
Sam goes straight to Van Richten.
You go to Van Richten's wagon and he is not present.
I will knock on the wagon.
That was fast. Success?
Sam hands over the bag. Yes, we have tasks we must perform.
This'll be
He'll open it up.
potion for sure, maybe 2. Well done. I'll get to work right away. He's conscious now, and other than being beat up and bitten, he'll be fine. And hopefully with this potion, continue to be fine.
Back to town?
Yes. Then we can take on the night hag fresh in the morning.
As you're crossing back through the sunset gate, Cormac, you hear in your head the voice of Victor Velakovich. Come back. I have a plan.
I'm going to suppose I might have an idea that there's a possibility of responding, and I will say, we'll be there straight away. And then I will say to the rest of these guys, Victor has spoken in my mind. I don't know such magics myself, but I've heard of them. He says he has a plan and wants us to return. I've suggested we will do so right away, if that's all right.
Was it as annoying as I think it was?
That was a bit unexpected, but he seems a nice enough fellow.
Well,
Maybe he'll teach me to do it.
Let us make haste.
Takes you about 5 minutes to see the Baron's manor in sight.
what are we going to do? What are we supposed to do, Cormac? Did he elaborate?
No, he just said come back. I mean, let's see if there's still those acolytes guarding the place or what, and see what it takes to gain access.
Up and up.
As
up.
you approach, you do see there are acolytes, but they're 2 different ones.
Hello. We've been in communication with the Baron's son Victor, and he's asked us to visit. We have previously been given sort of access to the house by Lady Wachter. May we go visit him?
Yes, you are known to all of us, and our Lady Wachter has instructed us to let you enter whenever you like. As you walk in, you run into, actually coming down the stairs, the servant who let you in this morning has bags packed and is apparently exiting stage right. He'll come down and he'll say, welcome back. They're all yours. Out the door. You hear from the parlor up on your right. Oh, go ahead then. Go ahead. Just leave us when we're down. So much loyalty I paid you, and for what? From across the way, you'll hear a female voice. Oh, Vargas, do shut up, will you? Sure, everyone wants to tell me to shut up now. Well, nobody tells me now, they tell me to I don't Will you shut up? Be the Baron.
I just sort of look back at everybody else and turn around and just walk up towards the attic.
You were like one of those shorts that you hate.
We never got a clear idea of what the re-education was, did we?
Lady Wachter, when she was first coming up, one of the first things she said was just release the prisoners from the stocks.
Well, and we saw them come out. I just didn't know if... Were
You've
they-
seen nothing
Okay.
in the house so far to indicate it is anything more than that. You actually have not seen the stocks themselves either.
Okay.
I guess
I'm
we
sorry.
could go talk to that dude who was
Swear to God, we're going to Victor.
the old lady's kid, right?
At the library.
Attic.
As you approach the attic, you enter. Victor's got papers scattered all around. He's got 2 books open and he says, okay, so there's a good news, bad news thing. Come in. So I've been reading more about hags, and we know we need the Heartstone. It seems like there's 2 ways to get it. We could take it by force, of course, but hags are famous bargainers. Perhaps we can bargain something of some value to... Perhaps she'll let us borrow it. If we borrow it, we don't need to fight anyone at all. If we have to fight, we must kill the hag or incapacitate her in order to take this Heartstone, which will be on her person. Hags tend to gather in covens, it makes them stronger. Do you know if this hag has sisters or daughters?
Daughters.
Yes.
Yeah, so that'd be coven then. Also, they can use these This is the bigger problem. When night hags have these Heartstones, they can use them to flee into the ethereal plane. They can do this anytime they want and not return until it is safe. There is a way to prevent this. There's something I've read. He'll open the spell book matching the wizard tower. Something I'm reading about here called a binding circle. If we can seal her in this binding circle before we fight, then she won't be able to get out. And then we can take her.
Will all of them, if they are coven, will they each have a Heartstone, or just the strongest, or something like this?
I believe the coven leader is the only one with the Heartstone. As I've gone through this book, I've never seen the Heartstone mentioned as a plural. It's always singular. Gummer, with the highest passive perception, you would see in the mirror Stella wildly trying to get your attention.
He walks closer.
She's pointing towards Victor.
He said, he pointed at the mirror. I don't know. Victor, would you turn the fuck around?
I'm sorry. Stella, what is it? You can't be serious. Absolutely not.
He looks very serious.
She'll do the same hand pattern, this time a little more deliberate. Stella says she's seen one of these binding circles. Well, she's on the ethereal plane, but a really large one. She says that there's a binding circle that surrounds the entirety of the Wachter house. She says that that's why she hasn't been able to tell her mother that at least her soul's alive. She's been blocked.
Could we remove it?
Stella sort of...
Or do we get the hag to come be in the circle?
Or ask Lady Wachter who created the circle and obtain
Stella
theirs.
will sort of nod, and Victor will say, she thinks you should go and see Lady Wachter and ask her. I don't trust her, but I also don't have a better idea. If Stella has seen a protective circle, then she's ahead of me on that.
We don't have a whole lot of
So-
options.
You don't
We
trust
don't have
her?
a whole lot of options.
Lady Wachter, you don't trust her?
Lady Wachter? No. No, I don't trust her at all.
Did I miss something?
No, he's not said why at all.
Well, it's Stella's mother, and she wants to, right? Okay, so
Yeah,
what
it's-
is going on?
Well, I mean, you know, Stella, do you trust my father? So it's not simple. Lady Wachter's just... She thinks she's smarter than everyone else, and she... Those weird acolytes. They're with her almost all the time. Have you seen them?
Well, sort of.
Dead-eyed, I don't know what.
What is
That's
wrong
alright.
with them?
I think they're just that religious. I don't even know what religion it is.
They worship Ezra.
I don't know who that is.
They
God is-
say it is the god of the mists.
I guess that makes sense to be here. We've always worshipped the Morning Lord. The mists do
Have
feel a
you-
little more tangible, unfortunately.
Is this not an established faith?
I wouldn't say I get out a lot, but I haven't seen anything like that ever.
Perhaps
Yeah.
there's something in the library about this? If you don't know anything?
Perhaps. Read a lot of those books, but certainly not all of them. There's so many. Stella will sign, and Victor will say, Lady Wachter is likely to be skeptical about this. If you can convince her to lower the binding circle, though, Stella will show her presence. That should be enough. You just have to convince her to lower the binding circle, which is obviously there for a reason.
Is there anything that, Stella, that you can,
A secret.
yes,
Something that'll
something,
you two would know.
yes, or if not that, something that would at least let her know that we're not bullshitting. Sorry, let her know that we are on your side and that you are still here.
She'll sign to Victor with sort of a sad look on her face. Victor says, you could tell her, Stella says you can tell her that Stella's favorite flower is a peony, and that they used to pick peonies when she was a girl.
Okay.
You try it.
Anything else that we should know if we are going to talk to her about this?
With the binding circle, that gives us options. If you can convince her to borrow it and you don't want to fight her, fine. But if you have to fight her without that binding circle, there's no point. Without that binding circle, Stella's gone.
I'm rolling terribly.
Let us go see Lady Wachter. We will tell her about the peonies, and she will tell us what we need to know.
That's what we need. A little unearned confidence.
As you walk outside, it's probably about 9 p.m. As you approach the square, you hear something. It gets stronger the closer you go. And then you remember, you hear the deathly chorus that signals the appearance of Rahadin, the Chamberlain of Castle Ravenloft. He is here.
Get suckers.
And we will see why he's here after break. As you get within 10 feet, the roar of these screaming people in this deathly choir is very loud. As Rahadin, though, looks at you, the choir fades. He has some control over it. And he'll say, greetings. I've come to deliver an invitation from my master. He'll reach into his saddlebag, pull out a letter.
Sam will walk up and take it.
The letter is sealed.
And he'll read it aloud.
So Sam will read, to Cormac, Gumma, Oksana, and Sam. I've heard tell of your recent exploits in my domain, and I wish to better know those who've arrived in my beloved land of Barovia. We've met but once, and I'd love to see you again. I also promised you that I would invite you to dinner, and as such, I bid you to dine at my castle so we may meet in civilized surroundings. I expect your attendance at dusk on the night of the moon's last light in 8 days' time. Your passage to and from my home will be a safe one, and you shall be honored guests for as long as you remain at Castle Ravenloft. My carriage shall meet you at the crossroads beyond the western gate. I eagerly await your arrival. Your host, Strahd von Zarovich.
He folds the letter back up.
While we don't wish to be rude, what if we find ourselves indisposed?
I would not be so indisposed as to insult the Lord of Castle Ravenloft. This is no threat, I assure you. Consider it instead cordial advice.
Well,
Don't be indisposed.
I mean, perhaps, we have a lot of things that we are doing here, and perhaps Mr. Your Highness? Mr. Count Strahd?
His lordship will be fine
yes.
for you.
His lordship is he I'm sure could help us and guide us and teach us his ways of learning how to, she's trying to speak in a British accent, how to take care of the things we must take care of.
You're stalling.
He knows everything, and so I think he could help us, please.
Please what?
Please give us the grace to rain check.
That
My
was a long
master.
road to a small cliff.
Shut the you guys. I was trying. I was going. So, tell us, Mr. Rahadin, what can you tell us about hags?
Nothing.
So you don't
My
know
master
anything?
expects an answer on... I'm sorry.
Well, I was just asking, what could you tell us if you could?
Much. My master awaits an answer. I cannot bring him.
Do you require it in
wait and
writing?
see.
I would be happy to write out a letter if necessary, or will you just take back our obvious acceptance by word
He's
of
got
mouth?
very good handwriting most of the time.
Sorry, is there at any point in there a request for a reply?
Nope. Except Rahadin just said it. He said, I'm to wait for your acceptance. He said response, I guess.
We will attend.
Very well. I will let his lordship know. He'll nod. Turn the horse and start riding for the gate. As he does, the choir comes back. So loud.
Based on his dream, does the choir sound at all like the song that he heard from the rock?
Exactly. You realize actually that since you came to Barovia, the normal discordance of that rock has been replaced by this. Whether it's the rock's doing or something else's, you don't know. The gate opens and he exits. Gate shuts behind him.
Would Gummer, in considering that, would he have been visibly, I don't know, thoughtful?
No.
Okay.
He's past thoughtful at the moment. He might mutter under his breath, still ain't got me yet.
All right, you stand in the town square. Probably about 10 or 10:30 at night.
I am not the most polite person. I know. Calm yourselves. But may I suggest that showing up at 10 o'clock at night to ask for a favor may not be greeted well.
Is it too late? Will they already have changed into their sleeping clothes?
Sorry, it
Probably.
seems like some of us are much more concerned about politeness to Lady Wachter, but perfectly willing to provoke and be, I don't know, sassy might be the word, to this herald of the Lord of the entire realm. I really don't understand what's to be gained by trying to. I mean, if we're not going to go, we'll just not go. He's not going to give up permission not to come. I mean, this seems like a pointless endeavor.
I'm feeling like you feel very strongly about this,
Well,
Cormac.
Well, perhaps part of it, Carmog, is the fact that she doesn't have a nightly ritual where a bunch of dead people march to her castle.
Yes, I don't know.
And I don't wish to join them.
I don't either, but I don't think that our chances of that are increased by. I just don't know. Perhaps I'm just afraid. I'm sorry.
Fear can be turned into courage. You simply must take that which you fear, place it in front of you, and cut through it.
How does that work? For real.
You take that fear, place it in front of you, and cut through it. It is a thing that must be done to understand. But once it is done, you cannot forget.
Perhaps we just pass by the Lady Wachter's estate and see if there's. Maybe she has these acolytes on guard as well, and we can inquire from someone who's already awake if it would be polite to approach, and if not, be on our way.
I can knock on the door.
You're
Sam's
very
gonna go knock on the door.
Wachter House is about 5 minutes north of where you currently are, if you are on your way there. Go ahead, Oksana.
Are the acolytes outside of the door? Like, I am just.
They were outside the Baron's door.
Okay.
We don't know about them
Yes,
Yes.
speculation of
at this
possibility.
place. Yeah.
Okay. Well, maybe we just get there first before we actively pursue knocking the door. Like, let's recap before just knocking.
As you reach the grand Wachter House, grand but seeming to sag under vines and some misuse, there are indeed 2 acolytes standing on either side of the door. If you get close enough for them to see you, one will say, "Hail."
Oh, is Lady Wachter available?
The hour is late. We would not disturb Our Lady at this hour. If you call again in the morning, perhaps she will be available to you then.
Sam leans forward and looks like eyeball to eyeball at the acolyte. I do not understand. Why are you so obedient? And then he leans back.
My lady leads us through the mist. My lady is one of the chosen few. Ezra herself has chosen to lead us. We believe in her entirely.
Have you seen Ezra?
We have not seen Ezra any more than those here have not seen the Morning Lord. It is a matter of faith.
Have you always been a follower of Ezra?
No. I once was
So-
blind and now I see.
How were you introduced to this worship?
I myself grew up very poor. I begged for scraps in alleys. It was Lady Wachter who found me. It was Lady Wachter who fed me. And it was Lady Wachter who opened my eyes. Rather than fighting against the tide, Ezra teaches us how to see the mist as inevitable and to survive within it.
What if you're afraid, Sam, of the mist?
I am not afraid of the mist.
What if I am? So I just put it in front of me and cut it in half? She's totally like asking in front of this guy, knowing. Intentionally.
You must place it in front of you and slice through it. You must conquer it by facing it.
This sort of talk is precisely what Ezra teaches us to avoid. You cannot cut the mist. You cannot confront it. All you can do is accept it, and accept your place within it.
Does that
What is your place within it?
My place within it is in service. In service to Lady Wachter, as she herself is in service to Ezra. We believe in her.
Are there worshippers of Ezra elsewhere, or only here?
I do not know.
We heard the conversation between Van Richten and Oksana about psychic auras, right?
Neither made any effort to keep it quiet.
Dummer would take a few steps back. Oksana, if you don't, just a second.
Okay.
Do you see anything around their heads?
That's a good question. Do I?
Oksana, you realize that you haven't seen auras all day, but now, the moment you think of it, auras appear. Their auras, not surprisingly enough, look exactly like the mist which brought you here. You do not see different colors. You do not see different aspects of someone's psychic energy, which you're not quite sure what those things mean yet, but there is only the mist. As you look at your friends, all three of them have lots of colors in their auras.
When I see this, I don't see the same thing. It's you guys have amazing auras or colors, and these people are just basic. Like, they just have matte mist. I can't imagine it tastes very good.
In your head, your patron will say,
I'm hungry enough. I'm not sure that I care what it tastes like. So hungry.
Oksana's not going to say this out loud. What am I supposed to do? Like, is there a store? I'm not going to, like, kill people. Like, how does this work? Can we discuss
You did it
later?
once before. You do not have to kill them. Van Richten himself said you should not. So you eat. Not enough to make yourself sick, but enough to fill us up.
Okay, there's no us, okay? Yes, I will deal
There
with this.
so is an us.
Is there a quality versus quantity situation? Like, should I be searching for a specific, like, flavor or, I don't know, like, truffle oil versus actual truffle, like,
I have no
saffron.
idea. I've been doing this as long as you have. I don't think now's the time to be picky about umami, do you?
But I am. Yeah, I guess not. Yes, I don't see anything really other than mist. That's what they have on their mind, I guess. But I'm hungry. So,
What time is the lady likely to rise in the morning?
My lady rises early with the sun. I expect she would be ready to receive visitors an hour after sunrise.
We will return.
Very well. May you be guided in the mists. As you head back
the
out
inn?
into the street, where are you going? Yeah.
The inn, right?
Yes,
Is there
we
anywhere
seem to be at least capable of accomplishing deliveries today, so let's return this money.
You enter the inn. This is the moment in the night where most everyone functional has gone. There are a couple of drunks sort of passed out that Erwin has not put outside just yet. Danica's cleaning tables and Erwin seems to be shining glasses behind the bar. Danica will look up and go, "Oh, good evening."
Sam?
Perhaps in private?
Sam pulls out the box.
private sounds good. Would you, Danica, can we go to your office or the back or somewhere?
Yes, there's a room in the back. She'll kind of head into the kitchen. As you walk through the kitchen, you see that it's relatively well apportioned. They're making money here. And just past the kitchen, there is a small, almost pantry area. And she says, "I don't really have an office. This is the best I can do, but what is it? What's that box?"
How much was taken from you by Isaac Strahd?
Think we 6,000 thereabouts.
About how much is in this box?
I don't remember.
I have absolutely no memory of that. Let's say there's 6,140 gold. Wait, no, that doesn't divide evenly. 6,120 gold in that box. Little profits. Never hurt anyone.
The majority of this gold belongs to you.
Where did you find this?
Isaac Strahd had it.
Of course he did. And you all have solved that problem for this town, and gold is gold, and most important thing was that none of us were hurt, but I'll gladly take it back. She kind of reaches out, I wouldn't say snatches it, but she definitely takes it with some force and kind of holds it. Not from you, just it's everything. It's years and years and years of saving. Do you think Blinsky might be able to make a safe for us? Or have one for sale, maybe?
Well, no, unless you ask.
Let's ask. I'll bring Brum there tomorrow. The other one's on punishment, but Brum can come with me. I'll ask him there.
Punishment.
Well, you know, you're not supposed to grease the floor behind the bar. You can ask Erwin about that if his ears have stopped ringing. Fell right in his head, he did. Anyway, I'll take this upstairs by your leave. I don't know if you grow tired of hearing it, but thank you. You're the best thing to happen to this town since... You're the best thing to happen to this town since I was born. Well, other than Erwin. Boy, he was a handsome devil. Full head of hair he had. Hard to believe. At any rate, I'll take this upstairs. I'll be back down if you need anything. I'm sure Erwin will be quite willing to cook you up something, and I'm happy to take a few glasses if you'd like a glass of wine or something. You just let us know. Thank you. Till go out. You guys kind of walk through the kitchen. You do, as you're passing, you sort of look down at the bar, and you can see that while most of it is scrubbed out, there does seem to be some lard or some grease that was smeared all over the floor, and it does seem to still be up against the sides of the floor, though the middle is now clear. You also now see the back of Erwin's head, which has a bandage. Can I get your drink?
We'll go over to Erwin. May I see your head?
Aye. He'll turn.
Sam reaches out a hand very gently for a giant stone man to touch Erwin's head and lay hands for 1 hit point.
Sam, as you do this, it's very satisfying. You actually see the welt under the bandage slightly shrink. And the spot of blood actually seems to be pulled off of the bandage. Erwin will turn and he say, I always forget I can ask people for that.
The blessings of the morning lord upon you.
I need it. I'd say that I may just offer you... Sam. I was going to offer you a glass of wine. What would you like, Sam?
will drink it.
No, I don't want any wine. I'm good.
Never mind.
Thank you, though, Sam, for thinking of me.
Just for fun, Oksana, you watch Erwin's aura, and it was sort of red, and as Sam healed it, it kind of swirls into a blue. And now it's a mostly light blue, light green kind of mix.
Did we talk about what Dampiers are seen as? Obviously, I'm assuming that people don't want.
Van Richten seemed to indicate that this was something he hadn't seen very often, if at all. The knowledge that he gave you was from book learning.
So, like, trying to explain, hey, can I hug you? Because I need to eat your brain thoughts.
You don't know.
Okay.
It does occur to you, perhaps eat your brain is not the best way to phrase it.
It's really like second date material. I will note that. That is very interesting. Oksana's literally gonna just walk away from his aura. Oh. It's so awkward. I feel like it's like a sex scene or something. I don't know what to say. Well, you know, it's like,
Auras
hey,
fade to whatever color you want. It's really fine.
like, hey,
There's no full
I like
frontal
your
auras.
aura. Stop. I don't know. I guess she kind of wants to see what happens if she doesn't engage in this
Okay.
act. At least
You-
for the moment.
you're able
It's only
to-
10, right?
It's probably 11 by now. Or
Comer's going upstairs.
you do have mastery over whether or not you seem to be able to not eat if you choose not to.
You don't want
It's
to
not
figure out the most.
consuming in the way blood would have been for Doru. I apologize. Go ahead, Joe.
No, it's just being silly. You don't want to figure out the most delicious color. That would be like my entire goal.
I thought this would be exciting, but it's actually like, I think for her, it's a moment of morality. I think she feels, I don't think it's intriguing to her to not do it as like, out of spite. I think that it really is like, how do you introduce yourself to someone and just be like, hey, I need something from you, and it's awkward. So I think she'll probably follow Gummer's lead and go up the stairs, probably still thinking like, how am I going to do this?
Sam is also going upstairs.
I'm following Sam up the stairs, but I'm asking Sam, did you turn over the overage to
No, I have kept that for the party.
Very good.
Should I have?
No, I think we might have good use of it.
You're in your room?
Gummer immediately goes to bed, but he pulls out the genealogy book that he borrowed from Wachter. Carmog, I am not much of a reader, so if you could help me with some of the bigger words, I'd appreciate it.
Of course, I want to put in a bit of time looking at the this book
There
on
are
the
a
ethereal.
lot of
but-
names that are rattling around in my brain, and I'm trying to figure out if any of them link up or I don't know.
So,
Of course.
with Cormac helping you, Gummer, you can make an investigation check with advantage to see what you can glean from this genealogy book.
And he is definitely using guidance. Right, that's pretty good. That'll be a 19.
19. It's good enough. You guys are going to have to sit and wait while I find it.
Well, while this is happening,
Yes, please.
What is Sam doing?
Sam was waiting for the book reading stuff to be resolved because he was going to go and talk to Oksana, actually.
Okay. Well, Oksana has probably gotten her papers, and because she now has papers, and is probably, we said there was a balcony, I think, or at least
There is
yes.
one. Yes.
okay, and is gonna sort of head out there and kind of look around, seeing if she can see anybody else's auras, like how far she could see if there was anybody out and around. But you don't have to answer that right now, because I know you're searching. And she'll
I have found what I am looking for. So, ask me that again.
Oh no, it's okay. Go ahead. You can. Oksana's went outside to see how far she could see people's auras. If there were people in the streets, like how far away Did that make sense? I feel like it's not making
Yeah,
sense to me.
I'm going to have you go ahead and roll a perception check, but I am going to do this book thing
Yeah,
first.
go
You
ahead.
tell me what you get. So, Gomer, as you're paging through, looking for a lot of the names floating around in your head, and you don't find them, but as you get to the end, you think, well, I'll look at Wachter. There must be details for that.
Well, especially since Lucian said that she's his sister. Is that right?
The Baron's wife is his sister.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Yeah. So you find it's almost like a book within a book. You're looking through all these pages of Wachter, and then all of a sudden there's like this inset, and it's all written in the same hand. You gather that this is the writing of Lady Lovina Wachter. You see in the genealogy that her maiden name was Disilnia. The way she puts it, she says she came to Barovia shortly after Strahd did, and as she was loyal, she received deeds to land and estates, including the land on which you were just Wachter House. She got that. She starts to, you can tell she's sort of fancying herself an amateur historian. Some of it's interesting, most of it's very mundane. But then you get to a page that's called The Wedding. So, I'll just read it. We can cut or not cut. It says, the wedding of Prince Sergei von Tsarevich and Tatiana Fedorova began with good cheer but ended in madness and blood. Prince Sergei was found dead in his chambers, his bride-to-be rumored to have cast herself from the overlook in despair. Though no suspect was confirmed, Leo Disilnia, my own kin, led a treacherous uprising against Lord von Tsarevich, abetted by a score of castle guards. When I sought to mediate, they turned upon us, slaughtering Vladislav and his mother, and confining us within the confines of the kitchen. It was only by some miracle that the Lord von Tsarevich emerged unscathed. She continues on. Basically, Leo is her brother, and they obviously split. Leo is then hunted down by Strahd and imprisoned in the castle, death being too easy a way out. However, sometime at the end of this writing, Leo Disilnia managed to escape. And she does not know where he is, and she hears his voice in her nightmares and fears that he shall return. Gomer and Cormac, you can both make this. Go ahead and make a history check for me.
Are they reading this out loud?
I assumed not.
I had assumed we were in different rooms.
I mean, I'm outside. I was just wondering if I would have been able to hear it.
No, I think he would point it out to. I mean, let's be honest. Carmog's probably pointing it out to Gummer. But yeah. That's an 18 on history.
And only
18.
17 for me.
You put your heads together and you remember card of Madame Eva's. It was the Nine of Glyphs, the traitor. And it said, I see the ancient foe of an old and noble house. The lost soul will lead you to him. Leo Disilnia sounds like a traitor. The Wachters are an old and noble house.
There's a
Stella
lost
Wachter
soul.
certainly qualifies as a lost soul. Yeah.
And we know that there's a binding circle around their house, which maybe would work to bind someone like Leo.
I think it would probably be put up to keep Leo out.
Yeah, like a protection.
One would assume Leo is, this is, hundreds of years ago, Lady Lovina was a peer of the Dursts. Leo's probably dead, but if this binding circle is there to keep out creatures from the ethereal plane, perhaps there's some fear that that is where he ended up. There's nothing in the book to indicate that, but it's as you talk about it.
If that is indeed the case, it's going to be difficult to convince her to bring it down. I mean, I suppose we don't absolutely need her to. It was just that a visit from Stella might convince her to tell us who made the circle and all that.
I'm not sure she cares.
About Stella, I mean.
About Stella. She seems resigned.
Well, I mean, the Lady Walker does leave the estate. She was, in the square for the handover and this sort of thing. So, I mean, why could she not just leave and maybe Stella can appear to her in a mirror here in the inn, perhaps, or something like that. That might be an easier sell.
Yes. That's right.
But it also
You do recall,
suggests
I don't remember if it's Erwin or Danica told you that since Stella's been sick, Lady Walker has left very, very few times.
Sure.
But you're right, with the right word, Viennese. Well,
Oksana, what was that? Go ahead, please.
Sorry. No, even if we brought a mirror outside their door. Sorry. Go ahead.
What was that perception check, Oksana?
26.
That
was like a good roll.
You can see the auras as clearly as the people close to you. For as far as the furthest person away that you see is probably 100, 200 yards, a long way. But the aura seems as clear as the person is, which is not entirely, but
Oksana is pondering. And I guess continues to ponder as long as possible.
Sam walks out onto the balcony and watches Oksana ponder and watches her ponder.
Sam, you're
And it probably
looming.
becomes awkward.
You're looming. You
I
like
did
this.
not mean to interrupt.
No, I just was. I was people watching. If there are that many people out, so everybody heard everything. Okay. Yes, I am just thinking about this eating thing that I have to do. This feeding.
Does
What
it
would you
cause
do?
you distress?
A little bit. I mean, it causes me to ponder, which is not normal for me to think this much.
You are very thoughtful. You just typically think very fast.
That's actually very accurate. Yeah, it's just a lot all at once really fast. What would you do if you were me?
It is hard to imagine, because I have no concept or experience of hunger.
I guess if you imagine, what do you need the most? I guess this is a question I'm curious about anyway. Like, what do you need to survive? Other than hit points.
I find satisfaction in the pursuit of my oath. Performing my duty and seeking to know the will of the Morning Lord more closely allows me to grow.
But what if, like, what you need to grow is harming someone else? Like, for example, it is all about light with the Morning Lord, but you have said yourself that without like shadow or darkness, there cannot be light, and vice versa, or something like that. So what if what you have to do puts someone in darkness or something like that?
I do not know. We must pursue harmony in all things. Harmony can mean balance. Perhaps there is an intermediate state that allows you to take what you need but does no lasting harm.
Yeah.
Perhaps
Just,
you need to experiment to fully understand the nature of this desire.
the word experiment totally was like, ding. This is great, Sam. I think I have a great idea. I thank you so much. I will think more about this Lathander. If he inform you, then I think he has great idea.
The
And she
Morning
will-
Lord is the font of wisdom. What is your idea?
Well, you say we experiment, and is scientific. It's like it's experimenting. Who do we know that does this? We have smart guy.
You
Lots
will
of
speak to
science.
Cormac.
I will. I will try to. Maybe he knows how to experiment. What do you think? You think it's okay? I will at least talk to him.
I think we should seek wisdom where it is likely to roost, and his is a powerful intellect.
Well put. So Oksana will go inside and seek out Cormac.
Sam follows.
So Cormac and Gummer would probably be in the room that they are sharing.
Okay. All right, guys, it's no secret. I have undergone a transformation. And I have to like take some mental energy from another being, and Sam here say that it would be a good idea for me to experiment and figure out what works. So I was going to ask Cormac, you make lots of experiments and you use big words like hypotheses and things like that. you did with Doru. So what do you think?
Oh, yes. Well, common first step, although can't always be adhered to all the way to the end of understanding. Sometimes we must risk things, but first place would be to try to see if there's some way to conduct an experiment without harming, anyone. What is the least sort of being around which you have seen one of these auras? Is there anything at all around, say, an animal?
Is there?
You haven't really seen many animals. You saw the horses at the Vistani encampment, but by now you will sort of have realized you can turn seeing the auras on and off in your mind whenever you choose. So if you had not had it turned on at that moment, you don't know.
I don't know, actually. I haven't seen any animals when I was seeing these things.
Well, for
Perhaps
better or
it
worse.
would be wise to experiment upon a being that can communicate when they are in distress. Oksana should attempt to feed from my aura. I am durable.
And you can communicate.
Well, I mean, you'd be surprised how much an animal can communicate its distress, but it's a reasonable thought.
Yeah, but an animal can't choose to.
Well,
I
this
suppose
is
not.
yeah. It is a quandary.
Cormac is an old-timey scientist from the theoretical era of vivisection, so it's like, interesting. Yeah.
What's a few dozen rabbits?
You understand something minor.
We need an animal, please.
I
Well-
am willing to stand for your experiment, Oksana. I do not believe you will hurt me.
Well, I mean, we don't know. Have you given in to the urge previously?
So would Oksana have like known that was what she was doing? Like, because for me, that wasn't something that like came into my head when I hugged Cormac. But I also was like, these auras, get close. So would I know that that's what
So
I
I
did?
think it's partly your decision. You definitely did not know when you hugged him. Speaking to Rudolph Van Richten and him sort of explaining how it works, that may or may not have turned on the light switch for you. It's your decision.
Okay. Well, I didn't intend to like do this, but when I hugged you, I think that was like a conduit. I don't know. Like that was helpful in acquiring whatever I needed. I don't know how it works. But did it hurt you?
No, not as such. When you hugged me. I mean, I had no idea what to really expect to feel from that in any event.
That makes
I
sense.
thought I don't want to overstate things, but I thought I sort of enjoyed it. I can't say what the cause was then. You're saying I finally have some experience of that, and I don't even know if what I was feeling was what I was supposed to be feeling.
Well, I guess that's kind of its own experiment.
Well, one without a sensible control at the moment. All right. I'm fine, as far as I can tell. So, if Sam or myself again wishes to be a test subject, it seems that you're able to stop short of causing real harm.
I mean, if we really want as much of a control as possible, I mean, Gummer would probably be the best choice.
Got plenty to spare.
Why, Gummer? Something in what you see?
He is well seasoned. That was a joke.
It was very good.
It was a joke. I don't feel like Gummer has much invested in me, so he probably doesn't have much to lose. If we're just being honest. But I think, Sam, I really appreciate you offering. Can I give you a hug? And maybe just a hug
Yes.
will work.
You may give me a hug.
And she will, how high, what is she hugging?
So Sam's pretty tall, so I how tall is Oksana?
I think 5'8". That's how tall I want to be.
'Cause he's like, I think I wrote him down as like 6'6" or something like that.
Dang.
He brings your head right into his stony bosom. He tries to be gentle, but it's most likely moderately uncomfortable. It is a statue with armor nailed onto it, hugging you after all.
Oksana, as he embraces you, do you begin to consume?
Yes.
A lot of it was a blur the first time. Doing this with Sam, do you realize you're able to see some of Sam's most important memories? Do you see the moment when Sam is discovered? You see the devotion almost bordering on worship that Sam felt for Siristival. You see Sam kneeling at morning prayers to the Morning Lord, feeling so clear. Then you see a flash of something you don't expect. It is regret. And you see almost through Sam's eyes as you are holding this helpless man. It's at around this moment that you feel like you've gone deep enough.
Oksana will step back and kind of look at Sam, almost with that idea of did I see something I wasn't supposed to see? Thank you, Sam. Are you okay?
Does Sam feel any different?
Sam actually feels pretty good. As this is happening, you do find your mind flooded with these memories. Most of them are very pleasing. When you do get to the memory that causes you trepidation, it's, as you think about it now, it's less frightening than it was. It's still however Sam feels about it, but it's lessened somehow. Oksana, you feel yourself in an almost It's a very strange and conflicting state of mind. You feel as though you have absorbed, in some ways, empathically, these memories from Sam. And you feel the good ones, and you feel the bad one. Make a wisdom check, just straight wisdom, Oksana.
Twelve.
12. 12 is enough for you to feel like the consumption of good memories and bad memories, for lack of a better term, tasted different. And it does occur to you that would they look different in an aura? Would you be able to identify one from the other in an aura? You're not sure.
Don't tease me. That question. I want to know.
12 to 12. 12 to 12.
Do, but do you feel different? Like, what should we Cormac, what should we put in the notations for the science fair? I mean, project.
I mean, well, as you said, the communication from the subject is valuable. It seems to be in no distress. And you feel less hunger?
Yes, I feel less hunger. I feel feelings more than I did before.
I experienced something like feelings, memories.
Well-
I don't want to say I don't want to share anything that I experienced without your permission, but I feel like maybe I've experienced the same thing you were thinking about at the time. I don't know if that's how it works, but there were good things and there was one really upsetting thing.
I had a memory while I was resting the other night. A type of recollection, though it was not from events that I recall living. I think you would call it a dream. But it felt real, as if I had experienced it. I do not know what to make of it.
What was it about?
There was a man who was declared to be unworthy. And because he was unworthy, I was to expel him. So I did, and it caused him great harm. He was afraid. He begged me not to.
And do you... I don't even know how to ask him about feelings. And do you think about this often? Does it physically make you feel a type of way?
I have been considering it since it occurred. I was uncertain whether it was a normal occurrence for sentient beings.
Would you know Cormac?
Well, I mean, speaking only from my own experience and I suppose some light reading, it's never been an area in which I've been particularly interested, but certainly dreams can be based on real things and can be utter nonsense. I don't know enough about the type of being that Sam is to know if it varies for his kind.
I have never had the experience before. When I enter my sentry's rest, it is as if my senses dull somewhat, but they are still present. I am still aware of my environment. I am simply at ease. I have never drifted into another thought before.
That must have been upsetting.
We've all drifted into an entirely other realm, so new experiences all around. We'll just have to keep track as best we can.
Well, I appreciate that you offered to help me with the experiment, and it was your idea.
I am glad you are feeling better.
Me too. Yeah.
Suddenly you hear downstairs the cries of a child. And you hear the child say, "Help! Help! I need the heroes! I came for the heroes! Help!" You hear Danica, "What is it? What is it?
Oh,
I need
Sam's
the
running.
heroes! I need them
Sounds like
now!"
a
You race out, you see that it is a red-faced, having sobbed a lot, Yeska. And he's looking up at you and he says, They've got Milvaj and they're gonna kill him. I need your help. And he races out the door.
Sam gives like one quick look to everybody else and then turns and goes immediately after.
Gummer overtakes him.
As you all race out of the door, you find just a small group of onlookers, but it's getting larger as the noise gets louder. He stands in the square, and on either side of him you see Milvaj has been pushed to his knees. His hands are bound behind him, and guards are holding him. And to Rahadin's left, you see Henrik Vandervoort, the coffin maker. He too has been pushed to his knees, and he too is flanked with guards. You see Father Lucian is there, and he seems to be having an argument with a guard. And Rahadin just stands there, waiting for a crowd to gather.
What is the meaning of this?
Ah. These two have been found guilty of crimes against the land of Barovia. For this they are to be punished.
What crimes are they accused of?
He'll look and he'll say, I do not believe I owe you an explanation at all.
I am
But
the
you-
judgment of the Morning Lord. I carry the flame of Lathander. In his name I charge you.
As you're saying this, you hear coming through the crowd the voice of Lady Walker, and she says, You may not owe him an explanation, but if you're going to commandeer my gods without asking, I do think I deserve to hear the charges. I have that right at least. Rahadin says, Burgomaster, He'll open up a scroll and it says, I, Strahd von Zarovich, Lord of Barovia, hereby find Henrik van der Voort of Vallaki guilty of the following charges: conspiracy to commit burglary, conspiracy to commit theft, accessory to theft, and receiving stolen property. I further find Milvaj of Vallaki guilty of the following charges: trespassing, destruction of property, conspiracy to commit burglary, burglary and theft. It is therefore ordered that each receive a suitable punishment, as befitting the circumstances and nature of their crimes, to be determined and carried out by the Chamberlain of Castle Ravenloft with all reasonable haste. It is signed. The turn, and it seems to be signed by Strahd. As the Chamberlain of House Castle Ravenloft, it is to me, as decreed by my lord, to determine and carry out the sentences. And I have decided the sentences for these two men is execution. You then hear the two of the guards are having to hold back Milvaj's siblings who are there. His mom is in the back, but she's just sort of holding herself that way. Father Lucian, it turns, he says, we have to stop this madness. This is insane. Rahadin says, I am not so unfair as to not allow anyone to speak. If anyone would speak on behalf of either of these men and present mitigating circumstances, I will take this into account in my judgment. Does anyone speak for these?
I do.
He nods his head toward you.
You bring charges. What are they accused of stealing?
They
And
have,
by whom, I might ask?
well, as I read in this Count Strahd von Zarovich, the lord of the land in which you stand, has found them guilty. As to what they stole, I think you rightly know exactly what they stole.
Why don't you say it out loud?
They stole bones from Saint Andrel. They broke in and stole the bones of a beloved saint of the Morning Lord.
Under whose compulsion?
Not mine. Certainly not Count Strahd's. Do you have evidence of this compulsion? Do you have evidence of anything?
We encountered creatures. Creatures of darkness and hunger, who had taken this coffin maker hostage. We drove them out of his domicile. Did we kill some
Not the
of them?
last
You killed the two spawn.
The
Valente
Lanta-
escaped, but you did kill two spawn. You certainly did.
Lanta ran.
We killed two. One escaped.
Have you these bodies to present as evidence that they were indeed the spawn that you say that they are?
Would would it still be there? Oksana's art?
You don't know.
Well, I can there should be bodies in his cellar or his basement. They aren't going to look normal.
Bodies in the basement of the coffin maker does not sound like particularly interesting or unremarkable fare.
Oksana will run and try to go get them.
As you race to go get them, Rahadin says, And what of this younger man? Have you words to mitigate his circumstances as well? Nothing for the young man, then.
What? Sorry.
He did what he needed to protect his family.
He needed to steal the bones of a saint to protect his family.
The issue is, with respect, is that if everything that was happening in Barovia wasn't happening, that is negative, like the where did we come from? What was before? Like Barovia village, like with the undead and everything that Strahd was sending, then there would not be people living outside the gates, and there would not be too many people to feed. And it is like an effect. He did not have enough money to feed his family, and was in a position that he had to resort to such a thing. It is not because he was greedy or any reason except for to save his children or his siblings.
So it is your argument, then, that crimes are allowable if you are under duress. What if you've been paid to kill a man? Would that also be all right?
But he wasn't. You don't get to make up new charges.
There's a difference between excusing the crime and changing the punishment. At least where we come from, I know.
He has been forgiven by the people that it affected the most.
Crimes against one, Brovin, are crimes against us all.
I know.
There would have been no crime had there not been compulsion applied in the first place.
By Volenta.
And perhaps by the vendors of these pastries that ensorcelled his mother. There's a threat to the people of this village that the Lord has not dealt with.
Maybe she should go instead.
I am not privy to the Lord's thinking on this baker woman, as you seem to call her. I have heard what you have said in their defense. I will have whomever would like to roll make a persuasion check for each one. You can do that with advantage, as you all participated in this.
I'll take it, guys. I think I'm the charisma man.
I would assume Oksana as well, but I don't know her stats.
I don't know who has
just from
higher.
being a warlock, that's all I know.
I've been rolling shit.
True enough.
Yeah, I'm
fine with Sam. Makes sense to me.
yeah.
I'll do it.
Sam,
Yeah,
your
I
first
have
advantage
+3.
roll will be for Henrik's sentence.
Can Comer give him guidance?
Sure, you're standing right there.
He will lean forward and he will place his hands on Sam's chest. Remember, there's always time to do the right thing.
So that would be a 15.
Please now roll for Milvaj. Same advantage. Guidance is fine.
19.
I have heard the words that you have spoken with regard to these matters, with regard to these crimes. In the name of Count Strahd von Zorovich, the Lord of Barovia, as his faithful chamberlain, I hereby decree the following sentences, which you'll get to hear about next week.
No!
Do it.
Son of a motherless goat.
Oh. No!
You rolled good, that's good.
Yeah. Good job. Wow. We had to sit on that for a week.
Well, at least you can take the solace in knowing there's nothing you can do about it now. The roll is made, the die is cast.
Bye, guys.
Good night, everyone.